So we will start rolling. So welcome to this evening's webinar. If you are here, you are obviously an On Point Nutrition client already. So we are happy to have you as a client, and we're happy to have you this evening. I'm happy that you could take the time to either tune in tonight, or if you are watching the replay, wonderful. I'm happy that you could do that as well. So we created this webinar as a way to bust some nutrition myths so that you can know facts and feel confident instead of confused. We know that there's a lot of information out there, and while you're meeting with your dietitian or nutritionist every week, sometimes things pop up that maybe your friends say or your family says. You're just not totally sure where it's all coming from and if it's valid or not. So we will just dive right in. Perfect. So like I said, my name is Liz. I am a registered dietitian, and I have been here with On Point for about a year now. Prior to joining On Point, I worked at a university out in Arizona, and at Grand Canyon University, I counseled students and staff as well as athletes on all kinds of nutrition habits, and the college population has a lot of nutrition myths. So we covered a lot of things there. I've also worked in corporate wellness and other virtual private practices before joining On Point. You can read a little bit about me and my philosophy here, but I really do believe in balance and that nutrition doesn't have to be complicated and confusing. I like to help people find a healthy way of eating that they can sustain forever, because really that's the goal. It's not to just find something that we can do in the short term. You obviously know a little bit about On Point or you wouldn't be here, but we just want to acknowledge that there is a ton of misinformation out there. And we really do strive to educate our clients on what is real and what is true, so that when you see a headline on like a tabloid in a checkout, or you see someone post something on Facebook or Instagram, or someone sends you an email that has, oh, check this out. We want you to be able to break things down and feel confident in knowing what is real, what is not real, what is true, what is not true, and really what's going to work for you. Also, just wanted to say that we have a blog that has a ton of educational content on it. So if you're ever looking for specific information on any topic, some of the topics that we'll cover tonight, as well as really anything that pops up that you see in the news or something like that, feel free to click onto our website and then click on the blog section and search. You can search for healthy fats in there. You can search for organic. You can find a lot of different things that might help you better understand something. So we will high level cover a lot tonight, but if there's anything that you want a little more info on, you can always check there. And you can also always ask your dietitian or nutritionist to point you in the direction of a blog post that might be helpful for you. So we picked 10 myths. I picked 10 myths that I hear a lot. Maybe it's from clients or from family and friends in my own life. And I really want to just break them down and explain the science behind them, so that, like I said, you feel confident in understanding why these things aren't necessarily true, and how we can work them into our daily lives. So number one is calories in, calories out is all that matters. So I was just talking about with a client about this in a meeting earlier today about, well, I've always just tracked calories. I've never tracked food groups. And I'm sure when you all started with On Point, that was something that you noticed was different. So we really do focus on food groups, and there's reasons to that. Because if your goal is to gain weight or lose weight, calories do matter. They're important, but they're not the only piece of the puzzle that matters. The quality of the food that you're eating makes a really big difference. And that comes in terms of food groups. So we all know our starches, our fats, our fruits, our veggies, our protein, our dairy. We want to make sure that we're getting all of those things, but we also want to be getting high quality foods from each of those categories. So there's a big difference between filling your day with processed packaged foods that are within your calorie limits, and then also having foods that are filling and nourishing and whole foods. So if we're only eating those processed packaged foods, the quality of our food is going to be lower than if we're eating whole foods. Obviously, we think all foods fit. We don't think that you need to cut out all packaged foods. Some of them are really great, but we really want to focus on the food quality, not just the quantity that we're eating. And we also want to focus on nutrients. So while we're not specifically tracking any vitamins or minerals or anything like that, we do want to focus on the nutrient density of our food. So nutrient density is just a measure of how many nutrients are in the food that you're eating. Foods with a high nutrient density that have a lot of vitamins, minerals, fiber, water, etc., are fruits, veggies, lean proteins, whole grains, healthy fats. All of those foods that your dietitians and nutritionists tell you week after week are important things to eat. If you think about processed foods or packaged foods, they're going to be more sparse. There's not going to be as many vitamins and minerals and that kind of thing. Sometimes things are fortified. So some cereals or dairy products are fortified to add vitamins and minerals, but we really want those naturally occurring vitamins and minerals in our foods as often as possible. So number one, calories are not the only thing that matters. Our second myth, and I hear this all the time, I'm sure that you have heard something similar as well, is that you must eat small, frequent meals. I also could kind of twist this. We can talk about timing a little bit of you should intermittent fast, or you shouldn't eat before this time or that time. And we'll get to that a little bit more later, but really focusing on meal size and meal timing, there are a ton of myths here. So some people will naturally prefer to eat 3 large meals a day. Some people will naturally prefer to eat smaller, more frequent meals. Neither of those is right or wrong, but there are a couple things that you want to think about. If your schedule only allows you to have 3 meals throughout the day, eat 3 meals throughout the day. You don't have to be like sneaking a snack somewhere where it doesn't belong or where you're not supposed to be eating just to hit those targets. If you are eating 3 meals a day, perfect. We just figure out how to hit your targets and how to hit your goals within those 3 meals. If you think on the flip side, something else to consider is if you have IBS, if you have acid reflux, if you have diabetes, if you're pregnant, there's different factors that can make it more beneficial to eat smaller, more frequent meals. So some of these things we want to think about our blood sugar. Some of them we want to think about our digestion. And we don't want to have too much food at one time, or it might be triggering for our body. But the most important thing is listening to your own body and working with it, not listening to some food rule that we heard somewhere online. Another thing to really, really focus on is your hunger. So we never want to be too full. We never want to be too hungry. So if you are going too long without eating, sometimes you'll find yourself getting so hungry that then you end up overeating on the flip side. And we really want to avoid that. So really what the best thing to do is to figure out the timing that works for you so that you can feel full, feel satisfied, and not be undercutting or overshooting your goals day in and day out. So myth 2, small frequent meals is not the only option. 3 and 4 go together, so that's why they share a slide, but these are 2 that we hear all the time as well. So low fat diet was kind of like a bigger thing, maybe in like the 90s. Carbs have since become something that more often people are going for like a keto diet or something like that as a form of a fad diet. So we see these things come in and out of fashion, as you might say, but there are no bad foods. There are no off limits foods. We don't want to eliminate any foods from our diet unless we're allergic to them. So to focus on carbs specifically, carbs are our body's preferred source of energy for day-to-day activity and for workouts. They're also our brain's preferred source of fuel. Carbs have fiber, which is helpful for digestion. But one thing to think about is people will often lose weight drastically when they cut out carbs. And one of the main reasons there is that carbs are stored in our bodies. And when we store the carb, we also store water with it. So oftentimes when people quickly cut out carbs, they will lose that extra water weight, but they're not actually losing body fat. And while it looks really good on the scale, it's not actually beneficial for your weight loss goal. Excuse me. All right, let's switch to fat. So fat is important as well. Our bodies need fat to absorb certain vitamins and minerals as well. So if we're not getting enough fat in the foods that we're eating, we may actually become deficient in micronutrients even if we're eating them. So even if you are getting enough of the fat-soluble vitamins, if you're not taking in fat that your body needs to absorb them, you won't be absorbing them and you won't actually be retaining them in your body. Fat is also really important for our energy and for our hormones. So if you suffer from something like PCOS, fat is very important. And I'm sure that your dietitian or nutritionist talks about that with you very often. So bottom line here, carbs do not make you gain weight, fat does not make you gain fat, and there is no need to eliminate any whole food groups. Number 5, gluten-free and vegan products are healthier. We could also lump into this, I always joke about this, but I think it's true, that the health halo effect where, oh, well, I bought this product at Whole Foods or Trader Joe's or Sprouts, so it's inherently healthier than if I bought the same thing at a generic grocery store or a more all-purpose grocery store. So I will come right out and say, to start, if you have celiac disease or you need to be gluten-free, you should absolutely buy gluten-free products. If you are vegan, you should absolutely buy vegan products. However, simply having a label on a package does not make a food healthy. So if we think about it, if you are buying, say, gluten-free Oreos or vegan Pop-Tarts because you think that that will be healthier than the non-vegan or gluten-containing alternative, it's actually not true at all. So oftentimes these have very similar nutrition facts. Sometimes they're slightly different. They've been altered a little bit, but generally they contain just as much sugar, fat, any of those other nutrients that we might think that we're avoiding as the conventional or the non-gluten-free and the non-vegan product. So one thing that you can do as an experiment is grab a gluten-free product, grab a non-gluten-free product, and just compare the label side by side. Oftentimes there isn't really a nutritional difference, and they're not actually that much healthier. But like I said, if you need a gluten-free product or you need a vegan product, please absolutely buy them if they fit into your diet. So number 5 is just a general label on the front of a package is not going to make something better for you. Number 6, so this goes with the timing again. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. So I always like to say all meals are important and none are more or less important than any others. We do encourage you to eat within a few hours of waking up and then continuing to eat regularly throughout the day. So I don't think any of us, maybe I'm wrong, but generally intermittent fasting is not something that the dietitians and nutritionists at On Point are recommending. If someone is recommending it to you, it might be for a very specific cause or specific reason, but generally we are not the kind of dietitians that are going to say you should skip breakfast. We want you to eat in the morning. We want you to feel full, feel satisfied, start your day off strong, fuel your body, all of those things. It's also important, again, with eating in the morning, eating regularly throughout the day, to listen to your body's hunger cues. So if you are someone who is hungrier in the morning, you're likely going to want to eat a larger breakfast. Whereas if you're someone who's not as hungry in the morning, it's still important to put some food into your body, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a huge meal that might leave you feeling overly full or uncomfortable. It's really important to allow your hunger and your preferences to determine what you eat and how much you eat. So please don't feel like you need to either have, like I said, a huge breakfast or skip breakfast based on things that you've heard. It's really up to you, your tastes, and your preferences. So myth number 6, breakfast is an important meal, but not by any means the most important meal. Myth number 7, another timing myth. I hear this all the time. Eating at night causes weight gain. The time that you eat is not the sole predictor of how your body handles the food that you're eating. So I want you to just consider 2 scenarios here. I think it's the best way to illustrate this point. If you have a busy day, you're away from home, maybe you're in meetings, you're running around, you're taking your kids places, you're running errands, and you have barely eaten all day, you walk in the door at 8 p.m., 9 p.m., and you are absolutely starving, that is a great time to eat, and to eat a well-rounded meal and to eat something that's going to help you hit all of your food group targets, or most of them, so that you can refuel your body, because in that moment, your body needs fuel. On the flip side, if you had a very normal day, you ate regular meals throughout the day, you ate regular snacks throughout the day, you hit all of your food group goals, you're not really hungry, but you're sitting down to watch TV and you really want to have a snack and it's 9 p.m., that might be a time to say, why do I want to eat? Am I hungry? Am I craving something? Or am I just bored? Do I just want something to do? And that would probably be a time where we would want to figure out something else to do instead of having a snack. Maybe have a cup of tea, have some sort of drink, something like that. But in that moment, we probably don't need the food the way that we do on a day where at the same time of day, we're really hungry and we've undershot our goals. So again, there doesn't need to be restriction. There is no perfect timing, but figuring out what your body needs by reflecting on your day and then thinking forward to, okay, how is that going to make me feel? How might this impact my sleep is also really important. So we want to take the previous and we want to take the future all into account. But myth number 7, eating at night does not solely predict weight gain. Myth number 8, organic is always best. So organic can be beneficial, but it can be expensive and it's not always something that is necessary. So again, like we said with gluten-free and vegan, labels and words do not necessarily make something either healthy or unhealthy. When we think about the actual composition of these foods, the calories, the macronutrients, micronutrients are not going to be vastly different. There might be some variation there, but for the most part, whether you have an organic apple or a conventional apple, the nutrition value of them is going to be almost exactly the same. What you can do if you want to buy some items that are organic and kind of get the most bang for your buck, but not spend all of your money on organic everything, is to use the list put out by the Environmental Working Group, which are called the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. So the Dirty Dozen, which you can see some of the examples listed here, are the items with the most pesticide residue. Most of these are greens, or they are things with a very thin skin that the pesticides can really penetrate into and cling onto. On the flip side, the Clean 15 is a list of the items with the least pesticide residue. If you notice, most of these either have layers on the outside or they have like a peel. So you're going to peel your ear of corn, you're going to cut into your melon, you're going to cut the outside off of your pineapple or take the skin off of your avocado. So most of the time, if you just take a moment to think, you don't necessarily need the list in front of you. If you're going to get rid of the outside, it's going to fall onto that Clean 15 list for most of them. And then if it's something that is really easy to penetrate, it's likely going to be closer to that Dirty Dozen list. Their website actually contains lists that are longer, so it's not just 12 and 15. So feel free to go on and scroll around if you'd like. It's just Environmental Working Group. I believe it's .com, .org, something like that, but it should be pretty easy to find. The lists do change periodically, so they are testing it regularly and they're updating those lists. So feel free to check back periodically if you need a little bit more information year to year. But again, myth number 8, organic is not always best. Myth number 9, restrictive diets are always best for weight loss. So I'm hoping if you are here and you are an on-point client, you know you don't have to be on a restrictive diet to achieve weight loss if that is your goal. So when we think about drastically cutting calories or really restricting specific food groups, it's not a sustainable approach. And what it can do is set off a cycle of restricting and then overeating. So I always talk about this as a pendulum swinging from one extreme to the other. So we go from restricting and saying none of this food, or my calorie intake is going to be very low, to I don't really care, I want to have this food, I want to have those calories, and we swing back and forth. Where instead what we want to do is find a happy medium that is sustainable. This swing back and forth in this cycle of restricting and overeating can actually damage our metabolism in the long run and make it harder to lose weight. So it's something to really think about in the future of you don't want it to be something that harms you. We want to do this in a way that is sustainable and not have to try multiple times over and over unsuccessfully. It's also important to think about the nutrients that you're taking in. So like we talked about before, nutrient density. If we are removing entire food groups or we are really drastically cutting our calories, it also decreases the chances that you have to get in vitamins, minerals, and beneficial foods. Yes, you can take a vitamin supplement to make up for that, but our bodies really do prefer vitamins, minerals, and nutrients in their natural form in food forms. So we always want to take a food first approach. When we think about it, quick fixes throw sustainability right out the window, and at On Point, we are really focused on what is going to be sustainable and help you long term. So number 9, you do not need to be on a restrictive diet in order to lose weight. Number 10, there is one best diet. So I think we can probably relate to this, that everyone is searching for a magic pill, the answer to everyone's problems, but we're all individuals. There is no single best diet that exists. No matter how many diets that you try or that people that you know try, generally we end up back to the drawing board because diets are set up to fail. You know this, that is why you are here. So you and your dietitian are working to together develop something that is balanced, that is sustainable, that delivers results, but it also maintains your relationship with food. So we want to check all of those points. We don't want it to just be something that, okay, we're just working to get to the goal. We really want to find something that is balanced and sustainable and will help you in the long term. And that looks a little bit different for everyone. So myth number 10, there is no one best diet that exists. So I hope at this point you feel empowered and can understand some of these things a little bit more. We do have a few extra minutes, so I want to take a moment, and if anyone has a myth that I did not address or that you've been wondering about, or maybe somebody brought up to you at like a party this weekend or something, send it in the chat. Again, you can send it to everyone or you can send it to me individually, but we will run through any of them if anybody has any. Or if you don't have one and you need a few extra minutes, you may feel free to leave the meeting. I'm not seeing any come through, but I will absolutely wait a few more minutes and see if anyone's come up. So I see raised hands. It's easier if you type your question into the chat, if you guys don't mind. That will be an easier way that we can kind of like keep them in order. All right, let's see. I don't see any coming through, so I'm going to try. I've never done this before from this angle, but I'm going to let Lauren, I'm going to click allow to talk. So go for it. You look like you're muted.
Okay, I'm unmuted now.
I can hear you. Perfect. I was nervous I wasn't going to be able to hear you, but go for it.
The chat is disabled. So you're not, at least on my end, so you're not getting questions through the chat because it's disabled. But
interesting. That's so strange. Okay, go for it.
So one of my questions is, it's like an exercise question related to fueling for exercise. What are your thoughts on like fasted exercise, especially fasted cardio? Because I feel like I hear that all the time and I'm not sure how important it actually is. Okay,
perfect. So I will answer that. And then I did enable the chat, so that's on me. I apologize. But now if you have more, you can send them and we will get to as many as we can. So when it comes to fasted exercise, I think one of the most important things to think about is the quality of your workout. So if you are working out in a totally fasted state, your body is going to have less energy in order to be able to put to that workout. So if you're going in totally fasted, it's probably overnight, you're going in, you haven't eaten in 8, 10, 12 hours, your total energy going in is going to be lower, which means that you're not going to be able to put as much energy toward your workout. So I generally will advise against fasted workouts. I think that the most helpful thing is to give your body some energy that's quick to digest. So nothing that's going to really upset your stomach. So think something like a banana, maybe some applesauce, a granola bar, something that's easy to digest carbohydrates. And that will allow you to have some energy without really slowing your body down with digestion. So I hope that that answered your question. Teresa asked, explain the metabolism. And she said, so I'm guessing the metabolism is, okay, so I'm guessing what you're saying about metabolism is going back to, let's see, I'm going to move back to the slide that talked about metabolism. So here, extreme restriction can cause lasting negative effects to metabolism. So your metabolism is simply how many calories your body is burning each day and how much energy your body needs. So the vast majority of the energy that your body is burning each day, it would burn simply at rest. So our body has what we call a basal metabolic rate, which is just calories needed in order to keep your heart beating, your lungs breathing air, all of those things. So your body's using those calories regardless. Any exercise that you do on top of that will increase your calorie expenditure and will increase the amount of energy that your body needs day in and day out. If you are not eating enough, your body will start to downregulate. So if your body needs, say, 2,000 calories a day just to maintain, and you're consistently giving it 1,600, your body can't just make up 400 calories. So it will start to downregulate and use less energy every day. Our bodies are smart, they're adaptable, they're made to stay alive. So what will happen is your metabolism that was burning 2,000 calories a day will start to burn less and it will just start to run less. Then if you say, I want to lose weight, well, now your body is running on 1,600 calories instead of 2,000, and you have to decrease even further in order to be able to lose weight. So the longer time we stay in restriction, the more challenging it becomes to lose weight in the long run. Great question. So Lauren said, yes, that answered hers. Teresa, I hope that that answers yours. We only have about a minute left, so I'm going to answer one more. And then if you have other questions, please take them to your dietitian, take them to your nutritionist in your next session, and they will be able to answer them for you. I may have missed this. Is it better to buy organic or the Dirty Dozen? Yes. So if you look, the Dirty Dozen list are the most pesticide. So if you're going to buy something that is organic, and I don't think I explicitly said this, so good question. If you are going to buy things that are organic, it is the most efficient to buy organic items from the Dirty Dozen list and buy conventional on the Clean 15. So what we want to do is overall minimize the pesticide residue, and we'll have the biggest change by eliminating those Dirty Dozen options. So like I said, their website has an even larger range that you will be able to see kind of like what's in the middle ground. But if you want to pick, okay, I'm going to pick the top 5, 10, 15 items and buy organic, and then the others you can buy conventional. And the website is Environmental Working Group. So I believe it's like a government funded agency. I should probably know that. I'm not sure if it's .com, .org, but if you just search Environmental Working Group Dirty Dozen, you will find that list right there. And like I said, it's updated year over year. Perfect. So like I said, if you have more questions, you're welcome. If you guys have more questions and maybe they weren't answered tonight, or maybe you have questions based on what we did talk about, please feel free to talk about them with your dietitian or your nutritionist. I just want to thank you guys all again for coming. You will get an email with the recording in your inbox tomorrow. It will also be posted in the portal. But if any of you need additional support, please, like I said, go to your dietitian. We're all knowledgeable about these type of things. Thank you so much for joining, and I hope you all have a great night.